Alrighty, we were pleased to be joined by a guy that is from Regina, Saskatchewan, a Regina Pat alumni, played in 394 NHL games. He's quite the golfer. He's been coaching for 10 plus years and involved in some player development. After all that, we were pleased to be joined by Jamie Heward.
Boys, what's up?
Jamie, it's a pleasure to have you on today. Rip, we're both excited here. First off, what's up with you? What's new? What's going on?
Well, just at the Knights game tonight, first exhibition game, and just got back from the Raiders game. So I got the Las Vegas sports.
Yeah, it sounds no fun.
Day. Yeah, terrible. The only part about being at the Raiders game was I knew I had to talk to you guys and come to work, so I couldn't have like 20 vodkas.
In the box too, so you've been drinking out of glass, like having wine.
Well, no, they were. I wasn't. So they were passing around champagne or whatever. I'm like, I'll just have a hot dog.
I would have had two. All right, Huey. Okay, let's backtrack the same as we always do in this podcast. Growing up in the Queen City, what were you doing? Hobbies, sports? Walk us through it.
Well, I mean, growing up in Regina's, not easy. I mean, living in Glencairn and growing up in the East End, it's, did the usual stuff. We played hockey during the winter and baseball during the summer, and then, street hockey as much as we can, and just kind of didn't have much to do. So it was all about sports. So, obviously Regina's a smaller place, so meet lots of good friends, and other than sports, not much to do. So life was pretty good.
Okay, well, speaking of playing sports and playing in Regina, you played your whole junior career in your hometown for the Pats. First, what was that like? And walk us through that experience.
Well, I mean, it didn't start out that way. I was originally when I was playing Bantam, I was originally listed by PA. Ended up getting traded to Spokane. And then Regina, I didn't want to go to Spokane as a 15 or 16-year-old. So Bob Strom was the GM at the time, and it was one of those things where he had a connection with Regina and wanted to make sure that I played in the league and playing at home was the best for me. So I made a trade, and I ended up playing, in my hometown for the Pats for 4 years. So couldn't have worked out better. I mean, it shouldn't have, it should have worked out where I ended up going and playing somewhere away. But the fact that I got to come back home made a world of difference for me as a youngster. And, I could still kind of hang out with my friends. And as it turns out, playing for the Pats, I made lots of new friends. And one of those things where, it was a privilege to be and play in there, play in my hometown. So everything worked out really good for me.
So quickly here, one of my sources says you had playing Bantam hockey in Medicine Hat. There might be a story there.
It may involve a stripper in the dressing room. You know what? That's back in the days you'd get away with that stuff. So, hey, I'll tell you what. I've played pro a long time, and junior. I think Bantam was more fun than all that combined with our parents and my buddies. We had some pretty good, bizarre stories.
Okay, well, we won't get in too much trouble here. Your last season with the Pats, you had 61 assists for obviously a total 84 points. What a season that was for you. And walk us through, because that was probably one of your best years in the Western Hockey League.
Yeah, and it was odd because I had been drafted as a forward, played forward my whole life, and then Pittsburgh changed me back to a defenseman. So that was my first year of really playing defense. So, it was one of those things where, I didn't know a lot, and it actually helped me because I didn't know a lot. If that makes any sense. I mean, I just kind of played and went on instinct, which, as it turned out, was a good thing. And then it got harder after that. So, I mean, I turned pro the next year and all of a sudden they're saying, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And I'm like, well, because I don't know. So it actually, it was my best year without knowing what I was doing, which was odd. But I played with some good players. Silly was a dynamic, obviously a first rounder and an incredible junior hockey player. So he made my life a lot easier. So
yeah,
one of those years where you chalk it up to almost dumb luck. But I'll take it.
absolutely.
All right, Huey. Besides the fact you being 6 foot tall and shooting harder than most men at 12 years old, at what point did you think you could play hockey for a full-time job?
I didn't really know I could until my draft year. And so, back then there was no rating system. There was no way of knowing how good you really were.
Yeah.
Nowadays with social media and the way scouts and agents approach you, they target the kids now at 12, 13 and 14 years old.
Yeah.
I never really knew that there was any kind of a chance until I was 17. Finally got an agent. Donnie Meehan kind of came out of the woodworks, and Mike Sillinger and I ended up going with him as an agency. And back then there was no social media, so you only knew how good you were based on what the Hockey News said. So the Hockey News came out with their ratings, and all of a sudden I get the Hockey News delivered, and there I am sitting at number 17 overall potentially. So just one of those things where you're not 100% sure how good you are, and then all of a sudden there you are, you're getting rated and scouted every day, and people are telling you how good you are, and then all of a sudden you're drafted. So one of those things where I liked every sport. I enjoyed doing stuff in the summer, and it really never dawned on me that I was going to be good until I actually was drafted.
So Huey, speaking of getting drafted, you go to the Pittsburgh Penguins in the first round in the 1989 draft. First, how special was that for you? And then second, your family?
Well, going to the draft is something pretty special. And for my family, it was even more special because back then it was, everybody was more tight knit, right? You were closer because there wasn't so much social media, and you just had to rely on your family and friends to kind of come out and watch you, because really nobody knew who you were and what was going on. So it was the most important day of the rest of my life without actually knowing it was at the time.
Okay, so Rip and I love these ask these questions. What was the draft like? Do you have any good stories for us from the draft?
You know what? Pretty calm. You sit there and you're nervous as hell because everybody else is, and back then there was only 21 teams, right? So if you were rated in the top 21, you were pretty much guaranteed to go, in that group. But actually that year was kind of a weird year because Bobby Holik went to Hartford, and he was the first player to defect. So he actually went kind of out of the norm. So now all of a sudden there's 21 guys rated, but now he goes, and then Doug Zamolak ends up going to Minnesota out of high school. So now there's two guys that have taken spots. So now the nerves start to settle in, and you're just sitting there and you're going, what happens if, and your agent's trying to calm you down, and hey, you're gonna go, and you're like, oh, I don't know. Yeah. So now you're just nervous as hell. So cool experience because it is the draft, but those kids are sitting there, and I know what they're going through when I watch it. They're nervous as hell, and some know they're going in the top 5, and then the rest is a crapshoot after that.
Yeah.
Jeez, what city was the drafted in that year?
Minneapolis.
Yeah.
So the old Met.
Yeah.
That's sick.
All right.
So all the old multicolored seats and kind of an old school building, but
Looks like a Smarty box.
pretty cool. Yeah, exactly.
All right, we'll jump forward now to the 97-98 year when you were with Philly. Just talk about your run. You guys win Calder Cup champ. You're Calder Cup champion. You won the Eddie Shore Award. Just give us a breakdown of that year.
Kind of a breakthrough year for me. I had kind of come out of the Canadian program with Team Canada. Went to Toronto for a couple of years. Kind of really hadn't established myself as a defenseman. Played some games with the Leafs. Was in the minors for a bit, and then just out of the blue, Philadelphia wanted to sign me to a deal. And at the time, when you're deciding where you want to go, they had their minor league team in the same city. So for me, it was a good opportunity to not move anymore, right? If I get sent down, I'm going across the river, right? So I made the decision to go there, and I mean, we had a real veteran team. We had good coaching. Bill Barber was our coach, and phenomenal man. Really, the first kind of time that I felt like a real professional hockey player. We were looked after really well. We had a wives' room. All those things kind of set in that this is what it was supposed to be like.
Yep. Yeah.
And I had a great year and just was relaxed. I never worried about, am I getting another contract? I just wanted to play. Knew that Nashville was coming in as an expansion team the next year. So my main focus was to have a really good year and see if I could get a job with them. And actually, as it turned out, I played well enough, and I ended up signing a contract with them. So winning the Calder Cup actually gave me an opportunity to go to higher and get to the NHL. So it was great.
What's up,
Yeah.
Bruce?
Well, I'm gonna bring up you being a AHL All-Star that year too. Not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
A lot of people don't know that you beat Zdeno Chara.
Yeah, I did, and he was pissed.
Yeah, second Big Z in the hardest shot.
I beat him in the hardest shot, and he was angry. But you know what? I mean, at the end of the day, I know. Yeah, you want to be the best defenseman in the National Hockey League. Of course, that's your goal. But I mean, I was the best defenseman in the American Hockey League that year, which there's 30 teams and a lot of guys playing, and I ended up going to the All-Star game and made first team All-Star, won the hardest shot. So I mean, all that kind of you take it for granted at the time, but when you look back, it's like, yeah, you know what, that actually was a lot to accomplish.
Cool. Yeah.
Because now that I'm coaching at the American League level, it's a pretty big deal for those guys, right? Absolutely. So it was kind of humbling to look back on it and go, I guess I did all that. But at the time, you're focused on getting to the NHL, so it's not a big deal. But then it became a big deal.
And you probably didn't know how big of a deal Zdeno would have became too, hey? So 2 years later, I end up playing with him in Long Island. Yeah. And you don't realize how good and how big of a deal. Like, I mean, he was kind of a gangly, big defenseman that you never really thought was going to amount to much. And all of a sudden, now he's a Hall of Famer.
One of the best defensemen to ever play, right? So now you're like, okay, yeah, that was actually a big deal. and I still have the stick.
Yeah, that's sick.
All right, I want to ask this question here, and doesn't matter what state it's at, but you have to wear the maple leaf multiple times for Team Canada. How special is that? For you to wear the maple leaf.
You know what? Extra special for me because at the time that I played for Team Canada, I was playing in Europe. I wasn't playing in the NHL.
Yeah.
And so I was the only non-NHL guy to play in that World Championships, only one. So for me, it was extra special because those guys are superstars, and they made the team because they played in the NHL. I made the team because I played in Europe the whole year, and I put my time in with Team Canada, and it was more of a reward than anything. And I actually played pretty well in the tournament and ended up winning a gold medal. So extra special for me because I never really took it for granted that playing for your country was just a way to end your season. Yeah. For me, it was
it was the only thing that I wanted that year. And it turned out to be pretty good for me. So I tell people all the time, it's probably my greatest accomplishment, even though I played in the NHL hockey-wise, to play in that kind of an event with those players was pretty special because I never knew I was actually going to go. And that made it even better.
Absolutely.
I'm going to stick with Hockey Canada here. Give us the rundown of the old famous Anson Carter overtime winner. What was that situation like?
So, I mean, we were the favorites to win, obviously. And we kind of, Sweden had flown in a whole bunch of guys after, after the season had ended and their season. So they had come in. And so they were stacked. And so were we. I mean, we had a good team. But kind of going back and forth, kind of everything transpires that, you're playing your shifts. And now it becomes more, okay, yeah, you know what, if we lose, and you lose an NHL game or whatever, you chalk it up, you move on.
Yep.
Gold medal game, Canada, pressure, all those things added up. And, our team was pretty tight, so we were pretty confident. But when he scored, man, I've never been so excited in my entire life. And then the review.
Shit show.
So, I mean, there's pictures of us, gloves everywhere. And then all of a sudden, you see all of us looking back to know that the referees are reviewing it. So now we got to grab our gloves. We got to go back to the bench, sit on the bench, wait for, a decision. And we're all nervous because you know what's going to happen. If they wave it off, we're losing for sure.
Yeah.
It's just one of those, karma, right? And when they waved it off, and actually the ironic thing is the technology that they used, nobody even knew they had, right? To blow the puck up, to do all those things.
Yeah.
What an exciting moment. I mean, it was the pivotal moment in my hockey career, 100%.
Yeah. Wow. Jay Heward, I want to jump to what you're doing now, but over the last decade now, you've been doing coaching and doing some director of player personnel stuff. I was just telling Rick before we started recording, it's a path that I'm on and I want to get to where you are. What's it like going from playing at the best level in the world to now you've already coached a game in the NHL and now you're coaching the American League. And you started with the U of R Cougars where Turner plays. Walk us through, just coaching and director of player personnel and whatnot.
Well, I mean, once you're in the game at a high level, it's really all you know. I mean, that's all I've ever done my whole life, right? I mean, you play hockey your whole life and then you play at a high level. So when I retired, I'm like, now what, right? I mean, I had no idea what I was going to do. So, so Turner's dad, Todd, obviously was a scout for the Pats. He's like, hey, why don't you just come out and skate with the guys just here and there and help out a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, I'll give it some thought. And then Todd Johnson said the same thing. He's like, hey, are you interested in maybe coming out once a week to kind of work with the D and whatever? I'm like, you know what? It actually would be a good way to stay in the game. Why not? Give it a shot. Yeah. So I ended up, kind of doing both, helping the Pats out a little bit and then helping Johnny. And you know what? To be honest with you, it's the best place to start because you learn more about starting at a lower level than you do at actually jumping in right into the NHL. Yeah. I mean, it's all about the development of the guys, and I really connected and liked working with the guys. And then I just thought, you know what? Why not stay with it? I didn't want to do anything full time because my kids were still young. So Swift Current had approached me and just said, hey, do you want to be a part-time guy? Sure. You know what? I'll come there 2-3 days a week. I'll see you guys in Regina, Moose Jaw, Brandon. I mean, I'll kind of stay home and kind of travel back and forth. And then I got the itch, right? I liked it. I really liked it. So then I'm like, okay, well, I don't really want to be full-time yet because the kids are still young. Did that for 4 or 5 years. And then Manny Vivros got the job in Swift Current.
Right.
Because Mark Lamb had gone pro. Called me and said, hey, I know you want to be part-time, but you want to be more full-time. I think I'm ready. So at that year, I only missed like 5 games, right? I went on a holiday. I think we went to Hawaii, so so I had to miss like 3 games.
Yeah.
You know, but then I got more of the itch. Now I'm getting more involved. Now I'm running a bench. Now I'm more involved. And then you know, Manny ended up going to Edmonton, and then you know the Vancouver Giants job came up. Took it, loved it, got more involved. You know, now I'm the associate coach, so now I have more of a role.
Absolutely.
And Manny calls and says, "Hey, I know we work together. I'm looking to bring in my own people to make sure we have a good culture." And obviously, you can't resist that opportunity. And not just because it's Vegas, but it is Vegas. Let's be honest. I mean, it wasn't, you know, somewhere small town in the east or whatever. But I just, you know, now that I'm more involved and we're getting more involved with the Golden Knights guys, we have meetings with them. You know, I talked to Ryan McGill quite a bit, and you really learn. It's a totally different perspective from going from a player to a coach. Players rely on the coaches to give them guidance, and then they use their skill and their speed and whatever to play the game the right way. So as a coach, you've got to have a little bit of a different mentality to give these players what they need. But I also never want to lose the fact that I was a player, and that communication side always comes out. And I know I can always talk to the guys about, hey, you know, try this, do that, you know, game prep, all that kind of stuff. So it works really well that I actually built from a lower level to now being here, because I still have that communication side.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm going to correct you. Huey started his coaching career when I played spring hockey.
Yes, I did.
Huey's a part-time assistant coach for my dad and a full-time bodyguard for myself.
Yeah. Well, hey, remember, you got to tell the story when I kicked your dad in the ribs.
Very fucking. So we're in Winnipeg, and I took a penalty, and I don't know if I took another 2 or if it was a 10, but I'm in the box for more time, and in between the penalty box is right between the benches, but there's a gap between the glass and the wall.
Yes.
The rink is.
Yeah.
So Todd's like, get his red face, get the fuck over here. So I like someone, and he grabs me by my jersey, and he's just fucking wailing me off the glass, like he's just pulling me in and out. And then Huey comes over. Todd doesn't see him, and Huey just kicks him right in the ribs. Leave him alone.
How old are you? 12?
It's like maybe 11 years old.
Yeah. Oh.
Unreal. What a crew we had there.
That's unreal.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? And you know what? I guess that is true, Turner. I mean, I enjoyed that part of it because I was actually still playing at the time.
Yeah.
Came back in the summer, so you know, Turner started playing summer hockey. So in order to see Ripper during the summer, he every weekend, right? He's on the road or he's doing, you know, something with the kids. I'm like, well, if I'm ever going to see him, I might as well help. And actually, it worked out really good because, you know what? We made a lot of friends and a lot of guys that I coached those first 2 or 3 years of Turner's 98 group. You know, I still stay in touch with and still talk to. And so it was a good way for me to kind of get an eye opener of what it was like to come back from crazy
and then
to know what parents are like and to coach the kids, right? So and my kids weren't, you know, Blake was 3 or 4 or whatever it was, right? I mean, and so I wasn't in hockey mode yet as a parent. So that actually is true.
Isn't it crazy? Like when you had those group when we were 8 years old and you got to watch us grow up, and now you're coaching against some of us still, and you're coaching with them.
Crazy. Yeah. So I mean, I look and I go, that kid played spring hockey in Winnipeg. That kid played whatever. Yeah. So it's, hey, you know what? And yeah, so it's like 4 or 5 age groups, and then I started coaching Blake. So now those kids are starting to filter in. I mean, we had 2003s that was just drafted, so they were at camp this year. I'm just like, oh my god, I remember when you guys were 7. Like, my god. So I don't want to say I'm getting old, but son of a bitch, I
am. All right, we're gonna go into some golf talk here. How's the game? How many times have you been playing since you've gone down to Vegas, Huey?
Played 5 times, and I'm a better player down here than I am in Saskatchewan.
Really?
No
wind.
Yeah, no wind.
And
everything's just perfect.
And I'm getting old, so the heat keeps my back loose. So I can actually swing.
Yeah, I played.
But I mean, we've got, you know, a couple connections where we can just go out and play. I mean, the beauty of it is you can go out at 2 or 3 o'clock after we're done practice and leave the rink and play 9 holes or just hit the range or whatever. Right? I mean, it doesn't typically get dark until, you know, 8:30, 9 o'clock. So you've got that option, and it's still warm out. I mean, it's still 85 degrees. Exactly. So we're actually, we talked about as a coaching staff, kind of doing going to one of the courses and getting one of the pros to kind of do a group teaching session once a week, just to kind of hang out and talk shop. And one of the guys,
that's awesome.
Yeah. And one of the guys loves hockey. And so he's like, hey, if I can talk hockey with you, you can talk golf with me. I'm like, perfect. Yep. This is
sign me.
That's what it's all about. Yeah, 100%. So no, it's been good, and it's been hot, really hot down here. And so training camps, you know, underway and kind of bouncing back and forth between rinks and house and golf. So it's been really good.
Huey, we got to talk about, you know, you playing Stewart Creek and, you know, your trips to Kenosee and the Bear. You know, walk us through playing some golf down in Saskatchewan here and BC.
I'll be honest with you, the trips in Saskatchewan were with buddies are a lot more fun than, you know, going to a lot of other places. I mean, although, you know, Mike Sillinger was a part owner in Bear Mountain. So going out to BC and playing Bear Mountain with him and for a few years was awesome. Exceptional golf with good friends. If I'm going to go somewhere and travel to golf, it's got to be with buddies. I'm not just going to golf just for the sake of golfing.
Yeah.
And you know what? I find we did a Kenosee trip 2 years ago before COVID kind of hit. And we took like 20 guys. We went and played Kenosee, and then we went and played White Bear, and we had a great time.
Yeah.
And so, you know, both courses are in exceptional shape. They're good golf courses. They're a lot of fun. I mean, let's be honest.
They don't fit your game, though.
What's that?
White Bear doesn't fit your game, though.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Anytime you have to hit a 7-iron off the tee on a par 4, that sucks.
Yeah, it does suck.
You know, I mean, fun factor, 100%. Yeah. Golf courses around the world, anywhere that I've been, top notch. I mean, let's be honest. There's 100 courses in Vegas that are outstanding, right? Yeah. So, but no, I mean, I don't normally travel that much to golf in Saskatchewan. I mean, I stick close to home and play your rounds, play with buddies, play men's nights, because summer goes by so quick.
Yeah.
I enjoy being at the lake. I don't really want to, hey, let's take 5 days and go somewhere away from the lake. So, you know, that's kind of my philosophy, and it works because all the other guys are the same way. They like to stay home, you know, and golf too.
Okay, here it sounds like the game's about to start here. So we got go to our questions from the gal here, sponsored by Molson Coors. Coors Seltzer's on a mission, helping restore fresh water to Canada's rivers through the change of the Coors Foundation. Enjoy the Coors Seltzer mixer pack with 4 great flavors: black cherry, mango, grapefruit, and lemon lime. Rip, how good are those?
Wagon.
Okay, we'll ask a few quick questions here for you, Huey, and then we'll let you go to the game, as it sounds like it's starting up soon. Best memory of playing in the NHL?
2. First game at Maple Leaf Gardens, which was my first NHL game, my first goal. So
who was it on?
Mike Vernon.
Yeah, Mikey. I scored one on his kid. Not a big deal.
So, and both at Maple Leaf Gardens. Yeah. So, as a Canadian kid, I mean, you know, I was drafted by Pittsburgh and never played a game for him. So that was kind of disappointing, but that's those memories of being in Maple Leaf Gardens before, you know, became Air Canada Center was top notch.
Absolutely. Rip.
All right, I got a 2-parter here. So who's the toughest guy to play against physically, and who's the toughest guy to play against skill wise?
Physically, when I first came into the league, guys like, oh man,
I mean, you had a lot of big boys. So you had, Steve Eiserman's, you had, oh man, it's just trying to think of the 90s. Yeah. You had, Brendan Shanahan, who wanted to kill you and could score at the same time. Yeah. It's just like, back in those days, back in the 90s, that was it. So I will say the best player that I ever played with, obviously skill-wise, Mario Lemieux, for sure.
Yep.
I never got to play with Gretzky, but Lemieux was off the charts, was off the charts. Hardest guy to play against. Yeah, I'm going to go with, like Kachuk, any of those big, heavy bruiser forwards back in the 90s that could hurt you and score all at the same time. I mean, there were so many of them. It was just, it was really hard night in and night out. I mean, because the rule changes hadn't come in. So you had to be really careful against those heavyweights.
Your AC joints took a beating.
Yeah. Well, we had the big Douglas shoulder pads. We look like football players because guys hit so hard.
All right, here. Handicap and favorite beverage after a round of golf.
Well, my handicap is a solid 4.5. And I can't resist a cold Coors Light. There's nothing better after a round of either winning, losing to silly, which I often do,
on 18,
or on 18, he birdies 18 pretty much all the time, or winning against
300, silly. And then you lose 500.
you just like you played your ass off, and all of a sudden you're buying them steak dinner. Like, what's happening here? So it has to be Coors Light. Coors Light on tap, cold all day long.
Wow, that's perfect for the sponsors.
Yep. I don't know. I got any locker room stories for us that you can tell without getting in trouble? Got any good pranks?
Well, my first year pro, one of the guys left practice early, said he had a sore groin, and he took a nail gun and he nailed all the shoes, everybody's shoes to the floor. And then he had a towing company come and take all the tires off everybody's cars. So they jacked them up and took all the tires off and left them right beside. And then he went home. So it's like, first of all, you couldn't get your shoes on. Everybody walked out. They're like, "You got to be shitting me! All these cars are sitting there with no tires." That's the best prank I've ever seen.
Is it January in St. John's?
Oh, that's just like
freezing.
All right, here I have one more here for you. I don't know if Rip has any more for you, but we don't want to keep you too long. One piece of advice you could give a young listener today listening that wants to play, whether it's pro sports, hockey, golf, be a doctor, whatever. Just some advice for a young listener today.
You know what? I want to say work hard, but work smart and have fun. I mean, you have to be a multi-sport athlete in today's game. I truly believe that. The days of skating 364 days a year to get better, you know what? You got to have a release. And I'll be honest with you, the fact that a lot of guys don't play 2 or 3 sports like we used to when we were growing up, I think is leading to a lot of potential mental health issues where there's no release for you to go and do something else. There's no real fun aspect away from the game. And you know what? You can't work your butt off, and the only release you have is to go have a beer or go do something that you wouldn't normally do if you were working hard, right? So it can't be hey, let's go party and get my release. You know what? Go sure. How fun is baseball? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So knowing full well that you're going to hang up your skates and you're still going to work out, and then you're going to go play some ball and you're going to have fun, but you're still going to work out and you're still going to be a multi-sport athlete, I think is the key nowadays. And if you're going to play hockey, play hockey, right? Have fun at it. But don't make it your entire life at a young age. when you start getting into 12, 13, 14, 15, then you're going to have to make a commitment one way or the other. But from the time you're 6 till you're 15, have fun, do other things, go to the cottage with your parents, go fishing, do all those other things, because that'll actually give you more of an appreciation for what you want to do. And I see it time and time again where guys are just burnt out. They're like, you know what? I'm tired. I don't want to do this today. And if you're going to be a professional athlete, you have to want to do it every day. Right. So don't get burnt out at a young age so that all of a sudden you turn pro and you're like, yeah, this isn't really what I thought it was going to be. So
yeah, absolutely. Jay Heward, man, this has been awesome today. We appreciate your time. Hopefully do it again. Yeah. Enjoy the game. Enjoy it down in Vegas. Best luck this year with your team. We'll stay in touch.
All right, boys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
See you.
Okay. See you guys.